The topic of our Zoom meeting, Zoom speaker forum today is the journey for elected offices by Nigerian diaspora in the quest for good governance in Nigeria. And Igwe will start, and I will introduce Igwe. His Royal Majesty Barrister Dr. Emeka Onuorah, Ezejelua Palace, Ezenaja Village, Oroku, Idemili North Local Government, Anambra State. He obtained his education in US. In 1990, he had his BS in medical technology, Texas Southern University, Houston, Texas. In 1994, he got his Doctor of Jurisprudence at Thurgood Marshall School of Law, Houston, Texas. He was licensed by the Texas Supreme Court in 1994 and by the US Supreme Court Southern District in 2005. He worked as a managing attorney with Ambrose O'Neill, PC, attorneys at law from 1995 to 2016. Areas of law included personal injury, medical malpractice, family law, and also with American Title Company as their fee attorney from 1997 to 2002. He prepared and reviewed title documents for real estate transactions. And since 2016 to present, he's the traditional ruler overseeing his community of Oroku under the control and regulation of Anambra State government. His professional membership and affiliations include member of Texas Bar Association, member of American Bar Association, member of Texas Trial Lawyers Association, former member of Nigerian political party, APGA. And so the floor is open for our first speaker, Igwe, His Royal Highness, Barrister Dr. Emeka Onuorah. Igwe, you're not
Can you hear me now?
Oh yeah, right.
Okay. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. I'm glad to be a guest speaker at your event today. Basically, the topic that I have is the journey for elected offices by Nigerian diaspora in the quest for good governance in Nigeria. It's quite an interesting topic. This is the first time I've seen something like that. I wish they had this a few years ago before I got into my journey. Basically, I've had quite some experience. I've been in Houston, Texas for a long time. That's where my journey started. I ventured into Nigeria and ran for a political position, Federal House of Rep, in 2003 with Peter Obi as the governor, and I ran for House of Rep in my local government, Idemili North and South. And some of you who were familiar with the trend of things then knew that APGA was very popular. We were the founding members of APGA. And I was lucky to get the nomination of the party and ran. I basically won the election just like Peter Obi did, but we were all rigged out. Luckily for Peter Obi, he was able to secure his mandate back through the court. And through that experience, again, I ventured out when opening came up for as traditional ruler of our town. And based on the little experience that I have, this time I was successful, having played the game well, the way it's played in Nigeria. Basically, I want to start by letting you guys look at a few things, which is basically the driving force for wanting to go to Nigeria, which is understandable. Nigeria is a country that is badly governed by our elected politicians who oversee the affairs of the country. There's lack of rule of law, which is creating a lot of problems for us in the country as far as moving forward is concerned. You guys might be familiar about when they wanted to do currency change, the issues that we had. Eventually, some governors took the federal court to court, and they made a decision that they should retain the old currency for a while. And the federal government didn't even budge for quite some time, which complicated a lot of things, created a lot of problems for the citizenry. This is part of what is going on in Nigeria about not obeying the lack of rule of law. Again, tribalism is part of our major problem. Nobody's held accountable to anything, because if he comes from if you are from a certain tribe, members of that tribe don't see anything wrong with whatever you do, even though you have done the most atrocious things. But you get protected by your tribe. So it has created its own problems. You've heard about how the snake and monkey swallowed some money. Nobody were ever held accountable for those deeds. Again, we have incompetent leaders, which are basically not doing much for the country because they don't know how, because of their lack of knowledge. One of the reasons is because it's how they get into power, because of their electoral system is bad. There's no accountability, of course, which you guys know. And this has created a lot of problems for us. So based on all this, it's understandable why people who have spent quite some time in diaspora, in America and other developed countries would want to go back home and get involved, which is a very good thing. And we should encourage that. We should encourage that. It's something that should be encouraged. But you can't make any change from outside. You must make change within. So it's always a good idea to encourage whoever wants to come home and get involved to get involved, because that's the only way you can make any change, any meaningful change. But before anyone gets involved, there are a few things that they need to know. They need to understand that Nigeria is not America. America has their own system. Nigeria claims to be copying America, but they are far behind. So it is important that before anybody gets involved, they must know and differentiate the politics of US and politics of Nigeria. Politics of US and Nigeria is quite different. Nigeria is quite a different kind of democracy that we are practicing. As a matter of fact, I don't believe that we are practicing democracy. I like to use the word autocracy. That's what we are practicing. A typical example will be the last presidential election, where somebody who was not voted for by the majority of people were declared the president-elect. So basically, it was done by a few people, imposing someone on the people. So I don't call that democracy. So it's a different system. So you have to get into that mindset. That's how things are done in Nigeria. Nigeria is not America. So our democracy is a little different. In America, they have election, what you call election. In Nigeria is a different thing. They have an election stroke selection. I don't have a word for that, but it's a combination of both election and selection, depending on the interest of the incumbent government. If they're interested in your position or the position you are running for, or depending on the local government, depending on the state, they might step in and take whoever they want in their usual way. But if they are not interested, they may let you run the election the way it should be done. So you must bear that in mind before leaving the country to go to Nigeria. You shouldn't come to Nigeria thinking that you're going to come there and convince everybody in Nigeria to vote for you, because it's not going to happen. There are a lot of things you have to deal with in terms of actually getting elected. There are a few things there that you need to know. The election process in Nigeria is inherently flawed. It's flawed by purpose. The intention of the incumbent government is to control the election, control who gets elected or who gets elected. So because of that, they have set up some rules and guidelines that actually lend themselves to control. One is that the returning officers are easily bought over. You can easily buy this returning officer, depending on how much money you have. You can easily buy them and swear them your ways to do things the way you want things done. The process, the election process in Nigeria costs a lot of money. There are a lot of money involved. There are a lot of money involved because of the people you have to buy, because the country is corrupt. So you must understand that if you are coming to Nigeria to run for election, you must have a deep pocket. You must have made some arrangement for some money, lined up donors and stuff like that. There are violence involved, a lot of violence, because even the police officer, the security agents are compromised sometimes, and they look the other way when election malpractice are going on. So those are things you have to be aware of, that you are not in America. This is a Nigerian factor. INEC, on the other side, changes the rule. They can change the rules at any time, because most of them, sometimes they get compromised. When they get compromised, they change the rules. They change results. This is obvious from the last election that we had. Another important fact that the diaspora needs to know is that elections in Nigeria, the votes go to the political parties, not to the individuals. It's go to the political parties. That's why when you're looking at the ballot papers, you will not see the name of any individual. You only see the names of the political parties. So it's important that we understand that the elections are based on political parties, not individual. So you can go there and market yourself all you want. If you don't market the party you are in, then you're going to be in trouble. Because once you go to that ballot box, the ballot paper is handed over to you, there won't be any name on it. It will be only political party's name that will be on it. So it's very important that you understand that. Again, there's delays in announcing the results. They delayed the announcement of results. They do that on purpose. It gives them time to compromise the results, make the changes that they need to make, so that whoever they have selected can be announced. So you have to understand that too. And there's a way to get around all these things, but you have to be aware of what is going on, then direct yourself on how to prevent some of these things so that you can be successful at the end of the day. If you considering all this, if someone still wants to get involved, there are a few more things that they need to do. The first decision you have to make, is to make a decision, what elective office do I want? Is there gonna be governorship? Is there gonna be Senate? Is it gonna be House of Representative? That's the first decision you have to make. At what level do I want to get involved? If you want to get involved in governorship elections, it's very good, but it's highly competitive, that's why most diasporans haven't been successful, because of the competitiveness. So my advice will be, that's not a good starting point. If you are thinking about coming back to Nigeria for elective office, starting with governorship is really not the best option because of the competitiveness of it. The reason for that is that most rich people in Nigeria want to make a name. They have made money, they want power. So most of them are interested in being governors. The ones that don't want to be governors or can't be governor for one thing or another wants to sponsor a candidate so that they'll be the kingmaker. So that's the problem. Running such an election is very, very expensive, very, very expensive. We'll talk about why it's so expensive. Governorships are zoned, like in Anambra State. The present governor of Anambra State, Soludo, is from the South senatorial zone. The last governor was from the North. This one now is from the South. The next one is going to the North and back to the Central. So you have to know that. So that if you are from the North, you want to make sure that governorship is going to that North before you think about vying, because you'll be a complete waste of your time. So you have to follow the political process and know which zone is entitled to the position before you get involved. Senate, if you're thinking about Senate, Senate is not as competitive because it involves 7 local governments as opposed to the governor, which is statewide. Senate is comprises 7 local governments. So it's easier to deal with. And it's a good entry point. And because that way, if you're able to succeed, that will bring you home. You'll be closer to home. We have a chance to make your mark before you think about governorship. Then if you're thinking about House of Rep, which has been a very good entry point for most diasporans. A lot of diaspora has come home, vied for House of Representatives, and they've gotten it. And that's how they entered into the system. And they're making a lot of changes in the community, in the society. So that's another good entry point. But for whatever reason, you have more people who are interested in governorship, which is, the stake is high. Really wouldn't advise anybody coming home for the first time to think about vying for governorship. The stake is so high. Another thing you have to think about is the platform to use. You have to think about the platform. It's extremely important. The political party you want to belong to or you want to use to venture into the political system. It is very important because, as I told you earlier, elections are not individual things, it's political parties. The parties are voted for. So it's very important that you choose the political party that you want to vie under wisely. If you're in Anambra State and you're a diasporan and you are coming to Anambra State to vie for a position and you want to be a member of APC in Anambra State, that will be ill-advised because APC is not very popular in Anambra State. So you have to think about this. Which political party will get me where I want to go? Political party is like a vehicle. If you are going to Lagos, you want to take a vehicle that will take you to Lagos, not the one that will stop you in Benin. And if you're going to Lagos, you want to board a vehicle that will take you to Lagos, not the one that will break down in Onitsha. So you look at political party as a vehicle to be able to get to where you want to go. So it's extremely important. I can I can't explain to you how important it is. Very important. The political party is very important. Political party makes a difference whether you win or lose. Extremely important. Then you have to deal with the primary of that political party. You have to be involved in primaries. And primary is also very important because if you don't win the primaries, you're not going to go anywhere. Then you have to think about the financial support, the financial implication. The stake is high financially. You will not expect donations. People will donate money to you if they expect you to win. They will think about the political party you are vying under. They will check a whole bunch of other things involved before they can make a decision whether to support you financially or not. So if you're not a viable candidate, you're not going to get any financial support. So it is very important, again, the political party that you are vying under, very important. And you must win the primary of that political party. Otherwise, you're not going to get a donation from nobody. This is another question that everybody must, that is another fact that is very important. Who do you know? Who do you know? You can't just leave US or leave Europe and come to Nigeria and start getting involved in politics and you don't know anybody. I'm talking about the leaders of the parties. If you don't know the leaders of the party that you want to get involved, it is a complete waste of your time because you're not going to get nomination. You're going to fail the primaries. And if you fail the primaries, the game is over for you. So you must know who you're supposed to know. Extremely important. If you don't know anybody, if you don't get involved in the parties and know the party leaderships, forget it. You're going nowhere. So these are the things we didn't know when we started. I wouldn't say we didn't know that because when I ran under APUGA for the Federal House, I was able to get the nomination of the party because I knew the chairman of APUGA then. Yeah, I knew him. He used to visit Houston and I used to host him every now and then. So I knew him personally. So he helped me get the nomination. So it's very important because basically the leaders of the parties select who will represent them in the election. So if they don't select you, you're not going to go anywhere. Forget about the primaries, the primary election they talk about. That's a sham. It doesn't really happen. All those are sham. So basically, if you're interested in the governorship election, look for a sponsor. It is important for you to look for a sponsor. The best sponsors are the incumbent governors. They are the best sponsors. I will give you a couple of ideas. Peter Obi sponsored Obiano. Obiano sponsored Soludo because they're interested in sponsoring somebody that will take over from them. One is to protect them from whatever. That's one. Secondly, you benefit a whole lot because you wouldn't even spend your money. The incumbent governor will do all the expenses because he has a stake. So he wants to make sure you are returned as the governor. So they do the expenses that needs to be done. They lead the way. They connect you to whoever is important that you need to know. So the best guy do everything. So how do you look for these sponsors? You get involved. Don't come home. If your election is next year, you come home this year. That's not good enough. You should be in and out, in and out. Get to know people. Get involved. Be a sponsor. If someone is running for political office, like a governor, contribute money to him. Get to know him personally. When you come home, go and visit. He will know you on one-on-one. Get to know you. He will find you a credible person. When you are interested, talk to him. Tell him you are interested in taking over from him. And he's going to listen because of what we have brought on board. So it's important that you don't stay away. You got to get involved at all levels. You must get involved. You can't go away and come back during the election vie for election. It doesn't work like that. Another mistake that people make, very important, when people come from diaspora, they get involved in political parties, they engage in primary elections, they fail the primary election, then they change party. They change to another party and get a nomination. It's not really a good idea because basically what you have done is to go to an unknown party, a party that's not viable. All you're gonna do is go out there, waste your money, waste your time, and at the end of the day, you don't go anywhere. The best thing you should do is, if you fail your primaries, collapse your structure into a potential candidate, good candidate. That's what you do. Collapse your structure into that potential good candidate. If the candidate wins, they're gonna remember you. You'll be involved in the decision making. You'll be part of the deal. And then that's how you get sponsors. Eventually, they're gonna help you to get to where you want to get or where you need to go. So it's not a good idea after you fail the primaries, you take off and go and join an unknown party and waste your money and time. It's a horrible idea. People do that all the time. When I see that, it's really funny. So it's not a good idea. I wouldn't advise anybody to do that. So I don't know if I covered everything, but that's all I have. I can take some questions that will help me address some issues that I haven't been able to cover. Thank you very much.
That's a lot, Igwe. You covered it all.
Thank you.
Unbelievable. So it's a tall order.
Yes.
A tall order to come to Nigeria to vie for an office.
That's why most of them haven't succeeded. It's very hard. Very hard. I remember the last guy that came home from Nevada, what's Dr.
For the governorship?
Yes.
Godwin
Madika. Yeah, he was the latest guy that came in. And he made some of these mistakes. He started with PDP, eventually ended up after losing the primary, ended up another party. And there's no way you can succeed like that. There's no way. It would have been better off knowing that most likely Soludo will win. He would have collapsed his structures under Soludo. By now, he would have appointed maybe commissioner or something, would have been involved in this present government, then getting ready for his turn. So, but they make that mistake all the time.
All right. So can we take one or two questions?
I raised my hand first.
Onuorah, go ahead. Onuorah wants to be the next governor of Anambra State, right?
Yeah, it's possible, but there's a way to do it.
Igwe, thank you so much. Actually, I joined late. I'm on call in the hospital, so I just joined back. I was in the meeting earlier, but thank you so much. The part of the speech that you made is actually quite fantastic. I like you are so blunt. You are not painting words, and you were hitting all the marks. I just want to especially thank you for that elucidation.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I have two questions, but if you can't answer two of them, that's fine. One is the security. You have interest in running for something. I agree absolutely with you that you don't just come back like a year before and start things. You probably would have been doing some sort of, legwork, PR, getting involved. But the moment you do that, people will know. They will notice and will understand the security challenges in the country. My question is, what would be your advice in terms of having to protect yourself? Would you suggest that someone goes the formal way to the police, or do you think it's better to have a private security, private mask security around? What do you think? That is one. The second question is, I talk to people a lot, and I know in one of the discussions I was having, somebody was mentioning, oh, you have to have 300 million. You have to have, which I know that someone like me can't even never dreamt of monies like that. So how much are we actually looking at for some of the ones that you recommended, not even the governor or whatever, but do you have an idea of how much you should have before you start looking for these sponsors?
Basically, it's kind of hard to tell you how much you need. How much you need depends on how you spend it, and it depends on your experience. Because there are so many crooks in Nigeria who will come and trick you into giving them money for something, and they end up not doing anything for you. So I mean, somebody can run a good election with, just an example, someone can run a good election with 50 million. Some other person, you give him 100 million, they waste it and get nothing out of it. So it depends on how you use it. I mean, it really depends. So nobody can tell you how much you need to run any of this election. No, it's not possible. It really depends on you, how you use it. I have seen that the more money that people have, the more wasteful they are. For example, this guy that I told you, the guy squandered a lot of money. I mean, squandered, I'm telling you the truth. I mean, basically, they took him for a ride. He wasted a lot of money because he has no guidance. I mean, he could have done the same thing he did with half of the money he spent, or even one third of it. But he basically wasted it. They tricked him into a whole lot of things, and he wasted the money. So nobody can really tell you how much. You can run election with any amount of money, trust me. You don't need to come back with millions of naira. You don't need to. But you need to know someone. It's important. That's the most important thing. Who do you know is the most important thing, not how much money you have. Who you know is more important than how much money you have. For example, you guys are in a position where all these governors, all these chairmen of primaries, all these leaders, they come to US. If you hear that they're coming to US, you host them, get to know them. At the end of the day, it will cost you not much to get the nomination. I'm telling you the truth. It's who you know. It's who you know, more than the amount of money you have. You're going to come back with a lot of money, and they're going to take you for a ride. So more important is who do you know. Start investing on people. Very important. That's the key. That's the key.
And we take another.
Then on the security part, what you really need is if you're able to, once you come home, you petition the commissioner of your state. They give you 2 security officers, two police. I think that would be good. And people, they hardly attack people who have some kind of security. If you like, when I ran for a federal house, that was in 2003, long time ago, I had two police officers, because it's important that you should have them, because basically you are becoming a public figure. Everybody knows you. So it's always good to protect yourself. So 2 police officers and you being careful yourself. And don't wander everywhere at night and stuff like that. You should be okay. Things are not as bad as people think. It's not, to be honest with you. That's just, when you see these things on WhatsApp, on social media, I know people get so frightened, but it's not like that.
Okay, can we take one more question? We make it quick, so we can move to Dr. Badua. Dr. Chukwudi, can you ask yours?
Okay, thank you, His Royal Highness. Seeing you talk kind of resonates a lot of reminiscence of the past. I happen to know the Akanebus in Oruku, and when I was a student, I was very close with the then Igwe of Oruku. So that is a very good connection to see a young, vibrant, a diasporan educated person coming to really effect change in our motherland. I appreciate your being candid, telling us the way it is. But when just listening through really highlights a lot of things that is wrong with our party system. Because from just listening very carefully, it is very evident that for you to even get into power, or for you to actually get into any office, you have to spend money. So you keep asking about, where does quality of character, where there's people that actually mean well for the people. Because remember, if you get sponsored, if you get like what we call the godfather into politics, obviously it doesn't come for free. It means that definitely you have to pay back. It's always a payback time. And so my question is, now we're having this new movement. Now we're having new flair. During the Peter Obi's campaign, we see people that is an Okada person that doesn't have any money. But because, people are now voting you, not because of who you know, but because of you. And those people have a lot of opportunity. You talked about the guy, the doctor that is from Nevada, that came back with so much money. So the summary of what it gives people is that if you don't have money, no matter what, even if you have good intention, you don't really have an opportunity to make an impact in the motherland. And that is it discourages people that actually have that intention. Because if you want to swim that water comes with a lot of baggages, meaning that you have to pay back. Nobody will sponsor you without giving you conditions. And you want to rule, I've had friends that came back the last election. They spent a ton of money and still they couldn't win the election just because they didn't have enough to spend. So it becomes not a thing of character or content. It becomes a thing of how much can you spend, or how much can you afford, or who do you know? And it's just the typical of what we have now. So my summary of the question is, with what we have right now, how can we make our systems better? How can somebody that doesn't know a lot of people or doesn't have a lot of money, but had good intention, have an opportunity to do that in the Nigerian context? So I think that is my question. Thank you so much.
Your question is very good, but to be straight off with you, you don't have a chance in hell. Nigerians don't care about that. No, you got to get into this position by any means possible. By any means, you must follow the trend and find a way into these positions. When you get there, then you can now begin to make changes to help the people coming after you. Otherwise, it's not going to work. You must get in here first. You can't make changes from outside. You must make changes from inside. So if someone approaches you to sponsor you and you have a deal, make a deal with him. Get in there first. If we find a way to settle him and if we find a way to do good things and make the changes so that those things don't happen anymore, but you cannot do that from outside. People who opposed me when I came home for this institution, for this traditional ruler thing. There are people who were opposed to me because they didn't know me from Adam. They don't know what my character is. But now they have seen that I have a lot to offer. So that's what we have to do. You have to play the game the way it's played. Get in there first. Then you can deal with the issue that you need to do to change Nigeria. But on your character and all that, you can be Saint Gabriel. Don't bring it into Nigeria. It doesn't work.
On that note, we're going to move on to the next speaker, Dr. Julius.
Wow,